in my experience, I was saying to you, I've been in this business for 40 years. It was my 40th vintage in 2012, and I can safely say that I have never seen a vintage port at this stage with so much color intensity, so much richness, and so much tannic structure as the 2011s. I think they are really, I think they're out of the ordinary. The wines were mature. It was a ripe year. It was on the riper side, but particularly from the old vines, they have so much natural acidity and tannic structure that they're amazing.
2011 had everything to be a perfect vintage. We had a great rainy winter with plenty of water in the soils to give enough irrigation to the spring, which was okay with some rain, but not too rainy. Temperatures were quite stable and dry during the floration, which is a very critical process for the fruit setting. And then we had what we always need right before the vintage, which is a little bit of rain 4 weeks before, 2 weeks before, and then once we harvest the grapes, they were totally healthy in perfect conditions. The ports are pretty balanced with enough fruit, with some spiciness, good tannin, pretty much round tannins, and long lingerings. So I think it's going to be an outstanding port.
It was a very warm year, a very concentrated year. So it's a perfect year for the production of vintage port. And it did produce outstanding vintage port. Thick, fruity, sweet, mature, lots of tannins, great structure. It's a perfect vintage port year. It's a typical vintage port year. It certainly will be one of the classic years of the decade and probably even of the century.
I think 2011 was a really balanced year, and in terms of doing the harvest, it was a perfect season of ripeness. So we had very good temperatures during the day, but it was fresh and mild during the night, and so we had the very good conditions of the long ripeness. And I think this you can really see on the ports, on the vintage ports. I think 2011, they're also very beautiful fruit, very pure fruit, and but still with a very nice good acidity, and they're fresh.
2011 was probably a little bit more warm vintage. We could get a little bit more overripe fruit at the very end of the vintage, which was very good for this kind of wines. And we are very happy with the blend we produced. So let's see what will be the results on the next years, but looks very promising.